The alarm blared through the quiet halls of the starship starward. Captain Frank Martinez opened his eyes, confused by the harsh blue light flashing across his cryopod. His mind felt foggy. Something was wrong. The ship's computer wasn't supposed to wake him for another 6 months. "Captain," said the calm voice of the ship's AI system. "Emergency protocol activated. Your presence is required on the bridge." Frank rubbed his eyes and sat up slowly. His muscles ached from a long sleep. The cryopod hissed as it opened fully, releasing cold air into the room. "Time since departure?" Frank asked, his voice rough from disuse. 3 months, 2 weeks, 4 days, replied the AI. Frank frowned. They were only halfway to the Epsilon system. There shouldn't be any reason for early awakening. He dressed quickly in his uniform and made his way through the empty corridors. The rest of the crew remained in cryosleep, their pods glowing softly in the dim light. Only the essential systems hummed around him. The bridge doors slid open. Frank was surprised to see Dr. Lisa Blackwood already at her science station, her dark hair tied back as she studied the main screen. "Doctor, why are you awake?" Frank asked. Lisa turned, her face serious. "Captain, the eye woke me first. We've detected something unusual." She pointed to the display. "A transmission. On all frequencies. It's like nothing I've ever seen." Frank moved closer. The screen showed a wave pattern, pulsing steadily across all communication channels. "How long has it been broadcasting?" "That's the thing," Lisa said. "According to our analysis, this signal has been transmitting for over 300 years. But it's only now reaching this sector of space." The doors opened again, and C. Murphy, the tactical officer, entered. His red hair was messy from cryosleep, but his eyes were alert. "Captain." C. nodded. "I filled me in. What kind of message broadcasts for 3 centuries?" "One that someone really wants the galaxy to hear," Frank replied. Lisa tapped some controls. "I've been working on translating it. The message repeats in thousands of different languages. Most are unknown to our database, but I've found some we recognize." "And," Frank prompted, "it says, 'Do not disturb the humans. Let them rest.'" The 3 officers looked at each other in confusion. "Rest? Like leave Earth alone?" Scene suggested. "Maybe," Lisa said. "But why would aliens want to protect us? And why broadcast it for centuries?" The doors opened once more. Engineer Tina Powell entered, followed by communications specialist Eric Coleman. Both looked concerned. "Captain," Tina said, her voice urgent, "I've analyzed the signal source. It's coming from a star system about 2 light years from our current position. No known planets or colonies." Eric moved to his station. "Sir, I'm detecting a change in the broadcast. The frequency is shifting." "Shifting how?" Frank asked. It's responding to us," Eric replied, his fingers moving across the controls, "as if it knows we're listening." Frank stared at the main screen, watching the pulsing pattern change slightly. A chill ran down his spine. The communication panel beeped. "Incoming transmission from Earth Command," Eric announced. The screen changed to show Admiral Wilson's stern face. "Captain Martinez, we've detected the same signal at headquarters. Your new orders are to investigate the source immediately." "Sir," Frank began, "we're in the middle of our mission too." "This takes priority, Captain," Wilson interrupted. "We need to know who's broadcasting this message and why they're talking about humans. Set course for the signal origin." "Yes, sir," Frank said reluctantly. The screen went dark. "Change of plans," he told his small awakened crew. "Plot a course to the signal source." As the starward altered its path, turning toward the mysterious broadcast, Eric called out from his station. "Captain, the signal just changed again. It's getting stronger. And there's something else now." "What is it?" Frank asked. Eric looked up, his face pale. "A new message. It says, 'They are awake. They are coming. The rule has been broken.'" The bridge fell silent as the words hung in the air between them. The Starward moved through space toward the signal source. More crew members had been awakened as they approached their destination. Everyone felt tense. No one knew what waited for them. Arriving at coordinates in 5 minutes, Tina announced from her station. Frank stood at the center of the bridge, hands clasped behind his back. "Any new messages, Eric?" Eric shook his head. "Nothing since. The rule has been broken. The original warning still broadcasts, but no direct communication." "Weapons status?" Frank asked. Scene checked his controls. "Defensive systems ready, Captain, but I'm still not detecting any ships or threats." Lisa's console beeped. "Captain, you need to see this." The main screen changed to show what lay ahead of them. Everyone on the bridge fell silent. A massive structure floated in space, orbiting a dying red star. It looked like a giant ring, glowing with lights and energy. Parts of it moved and shifted, as if the structure itself was alive. "What is that?" Frank whispered. "It's artificial." Lisa confirmed. "My readings suggest it's at least 10,000 years old, maybe older." "Size comparison?" Frank asked. "About 3 times the diameter of Earth," Lisa replied. Her voice shook slightly. The communication panel lit up. "Incoming transmission," Eric said. "It's coming from the structure." "On screen," Frank ordered. The screen flickered, then showed a chamber unlike anything they had seen before. Several beings stood there, each completely different from the others. One looked like a tall insect with 4 arms. Another resembled a jellyfish floating in air. A third was a crystalline figure that glowed from within. The crystal being stepped forward. When it spoke, its whole body pulsed with light. "Humans of the vessel Starward," it said in perfect English. "I am the speaker for the Keepers. You have heard our warning, yet you come anyway." Typical. Frank cleared his throat. "I am Captain Frank Martinez. We received your message about not disturbing humans. We came to understand what it means." The crystal being made a sound like chiming bells. It might have been laughter. "The warning was not for you, human. It was for everyone else." The bridge crew exchanged confused looks. "I don't understand," Frank said. "You will. Please dock with our station. We have much to discuss." 2 hours later, Frank, Lisa, and Scene stood in a large chamber inside the ring structure. The air smelled strange but breathable. The crystal being, who called itself Luminex, led them through corridors where other alien species watched them with what seemed like fear. "The Keepers are a coalition," Luminex explained. "We monitor communications across the galaxy. We issued the warning about humans nearly 400 of your years ago." "But why warn others about us?" Lisa asked. They entered a vast room with a holographic display of the galaxy. Luminex touched the display, and thousands of small lights appeared across it. "Each light represents an intelligent civilization," Luminex said. "All of them share one common trait." It paused. "Except humans." "What trait?" Frank asked. "Hibernation," Luminex answered simply. "Every advanced species in the galaxy requires extended periods of hibernation. The Arctuvians sleep for 3 of your Earth years after every year of activity. The Proxima beings hibernate for 10 years after 2 years awake. This is the natural cycle of intelligent life." "But humans don't hibernate," Lisa said slowly. "Precisely." Luminex's crystal body pulsed brighter. "You are the only ones who remain awake continuously. In galactic terms, you are known as the wakeful ones. And that makes you dangerous." "Dangerous?" Scene frowned. "How is staying awake dangerous?" Luminex moved closer to them. "When everyone else sleeps, who watches over their worlds? Their resources? Their territories?" Frank felt a chill as understanding dawned. "Our warning," Luminex said softly, "was never meant to protect humans. It was meant to protect everyone else from you." Frank, Lisa, and Scene walked back to their shuttle in silence. What Luminex had told them was too big to process quickly. Humans were the only species in the galaxy that didn't hibernate. The implications were enormous. Earth Command must know about this, Lisa said finally. It explains so many things. Like what? Scene asked. Like why we never found populated worlds in systems we explored. The aliens were probably just asleep. Lisa looked troubled. And why Earth pushed so hard for rapid expansion in certain sectors. Frank's communicator beeped. Eric's voice came through. Captain, you need to return to the Starward immediately. Another Earth ship has arrived. When they reached the Starward, Frank saw the new ship through the viewport. It was larger than their vessel, with heavy weapon systems visible on its hull. The name Northern Star was painted on its side. They're hailing us, Eric said. The screen showed a woman with short blonde hair and a captain's uniform. Captain Martinez, I'm Captain Alexis Wright of the Northern Star. I have orders to escort you back to Earth immediately. Frank frowned. We're in the middle of first contact with an important. These orders come directly from Admiral Peters himself. Wright interrupted. The Keeper's broadcast has been classified as a security threat. We're to return to Earth for debriefing and allow a specialized team to handle this situation. Frank glanced at Lisa, who shook her head slightly. Captain Wright, we've learned something significant here, Frank said carefully. The Keepers have revealed that humans are the only species that doesn't hibernate. All other intelligent life requires long sleep cycles. Wright's expression didn't change. That information is already known to Earth Command, Captain. It's been classified for the past 70 years. The bridge crew looked at each other in shock. You knew? Lisa stepped forward. Earth knew about alien hibernation. That's classified information, Doctor, Wright replied coldly. Prepare your ship for departure in 2 hours. After the communication ended, Frank called an emergency meeting with his awakened crew. Earth has been keeping this secret, he told them. And I need to know why. Tina brought data records she had accessed from the Keeper's archives. Look at these star charts, she said. The red dots show human outposts established in the last 50 years. The display showed dozens of red dots spreading across alien territories. Now watch what happens when I overlay the hibernation cycles of major species. The screen changed to show colored waves representing sleep cycles. Almost all the human outposts had been established during alien hibernation periods. We've been taking advantage of their sleep, Eric said quietly. Scene studied the data. It's strategic. We move in when they can't object, establish mining operations and colonies, then claim we didn't know the territories were occupied. That can't be legal, Lisa protested. There are no galactic laws against it, Tina explained. No species ever needed such laws before. The concept of a non-hibernating intelligence never occurred to them. Frank stared at the display. Earth Command had deliberately exploited alien hibernation cycles to expand human territory and gather resources. This was why they wanted to silence the Keeper's broadcast and bring the Starward crew home. A warning alarm sounded. Eric rushed to his console. Multiple ships detected. He called out. They're coming from all directions. The view screen showed alien vessels appearing around the Keeper's structure. Their designs varied wildly, but all were moving with purpose. The Keepers must have activated emergency wake protocols, Lisa realized. They're waking sleeping civilizations to warn them. Captain, Eric's voice was tense. The Northern Star has powered up weapons systems. Frank watched as more alien ships appeared. Species that should have been hibernating were now awake and converging on their location, and a human military vessel was preparing for combat. We've just started a diplomatic nightmare, Frank said quietly. Frank opened an emergency channel to the Northern Star. Captain Wright, power down your weapons immediately. These aliens aren't here to attack. My orders are to protect human interests, Wright replied. Her face was tense. These aliens have no right to wake their people early and gather forces against us. They have every right, Frank argued. We've been taking their resources while they sleep. Earth Command wants us to leave now, Wright insisted. We are to return home and let specialists handle this. Frank made a quick decision. I'm not leaving. We created this mess. We need to fix it. That's disobeying a direct order, Martinez. Then report me. But I won't start a war today. Frank cut the connection and turned to his crew. I'm staying to face this. Anyone who wants to return home can take the shuttle. No one moved. Lisa stepped forward. We're with you, Captain. A new message came through from the Keeper's station. Luminex appeared on screen. Captain Martinez, we request your presence at an emergency council. Many species have awakened early. They demand answers. We'll be there, Frank promised. Before they left, Eric approached Frank privately. Captain, I accessed Northern Star's communications. Look at this. He handed Frank a datapad. They'd been sending reports about us to Earth Command. There are secret orders to erase our memories if we resist returning. Frank's expression hardened. Thank you, Eric. To everyone's surprise, Captain Wright requested to join them at the council. I need to see this for myself, she said quietly when she met them at the docking bay. The council chamber was filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Many looked disoriented, as if they had been pulled from deep sleep. Anger and confusion filled the room. A tall blue alien with 4 arms stood at the center. I am Speaker Zorn of the Arcturian Collective, it announced. We were awakened from our sleep cycle to learn humans have taken 3 of our colony worlds. A floating creature made of what looked like gas joined in. The Proxima Unity has lost mining rights to 2 moons while we hibernated. Human corporations now claim ownership. One by one, representatives described resources, territories, and rights they had lost during their sleep cycles. The evidence was overwhelming. Earth had systematically exploited the hibernation patterns of every major civilization. What do humans have to say about this? Zorn demanded. Frank stepped forward. I cannot defend these actions. My crew and I only learned of this practice today. But I promise to help make it right. Captain Wright stood beside him, her face pale as she saw the extent of human exploitation. I was following orders, she said quietly. I didn't know. Your ignorance does not return our colonies, Zorn replied. Lisa had been working with alien scientists in one corner of the room. She approached Frank. Captain, we've created a universal data sharing system. Every species can now see exactly what humans have taken during hibernation cycles. The shared data appeared on large screens around the room. The evidence was damning. Human expansion had been carefully planned around hibernation schedules for decades. A smaller alien with skin like tree bark spoke up. We should quarantine humans to their own system. They cannot be trusted. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Wait, Frank said. Not all humans approved these actions. Many of us would have opposed this if we had known. Then why didn't you know? Luminex asked. Why would your leaders hide this from your own people? Before Frank could answer, the chamber doors opened. A human in an admiral's uniform entered, flanked by security officers. I am Admiral Gregory Peters of Earth Command, he announced, and I'm here to explain humanity's position on this matter. Frank and Wright exchanged worried glances. The real diplomatic challenge was just beginning. Admiral Peters walked to the center of the council chamber with confidence. He showed no signs of concern despite the angry aliens surrounding him. On behalf of Earth Command, I want to express our surprise at this gathering, Peters said smoothly. We were unaware that our exploration efforts were causing any problems. Angry noises filled the room. Zorn of the Arcturians stepped forward. You claim ignorance after taking our worlds during our sleep cycles, Zorn demanded. Peters smiled thinly. The planets we settled were uninhabited when we arrived. We found no signs of active civilization. Because we were hibernating. A jellyfish-like alien pulsed with angry red colors. And that's unfortunate, Peters replied. But humans don't hibernate. Should we put our civilization on hold for decades because other species sleep? Our people need resources. Our colonies need space. We use what we find. Frank watched in disbelief as Peters continued. Humans evolved without hibernation cycles. This gives us a natural advantage. Why should we apologize for using the time when others sleep to advance our civilization? The chamber erupted in outrage. Several aliens moved toward Peters threateningly. You speak as if stealing is a right. Luminex's crystal form flashed with bright colors. Peters stood his ground. We took unguarded, unused resources. If you can't defend your territories during your sleep cycles, perhaps you should adapt like we have. Frank stepped forward. Admiral, with all due respect, this approach isn't helping. Peters glared at him. You've already disobeyed orders, Captain Martinez. Don't make it worse. Lisa had been working quietly with a group of alien scientists in the corner. She suddenly rushed to Frank's side. Captain, I've made an important discovery, she said urgently. She turned to address the council. We've been analyzing ancient human DNA records from the Keeper's database. Humans weren't always wakeful. We once had hibernation abilities too. The room fell silent. What? Frank asked. Lisa displayed the data on a nearby screen. Look at this genetic sequence from human DNA samples from 30,000 years ago. It shows clear hibernation markers, similar to those in other species. But modern humans have lost these traits. Peters tried to interrupt, but Luminex moved forward. This confirms our oldest records. Humans were once like other species. Something changed you. An ancient alien with skin like aged leather hobbled forward. It had been silent until now. Its voice was deep and slow. I am Eldervorn of the Dendari, it said. We have studied humans longer than any other species. We believe humans bred out hibernation through evolutionary pressure. Your planet's harsh ice ages forced those who could stay awake to survive better than those who hibernated. So humans aren't naturally wakeful? Captain Wright asked. We just evolved differently. And this gives us a possible solution, Lisa said excitedly. If humans once had hibernation capabilities, maybe we could restore them. Admiral Peters' face darkened. That's enough, Doctor. Earth has no interest in changing our biology to match alien sleep patterns. But it could solve everything, Frank argued. If humans returned to natural hibernation cycles, we could integrate properly with galactic society and give up our advantage. Peters snapped. Never. Earth Command will not surrender humanity's evolutionary edge. A new alien entered the chamber, tall and thin with 6 eyes arranged in a circle. It carried a small device. This discussion is now irrelevant, it said. While you talked, human military vessels have attacked a hibernating Proxima colony. We just received the distress signal. It activated the device, showing images of human ships firing on defenseless structures. The attack began 1 hour ago, the alien continued. This was not exploration or settlement. This was deliberate aggression against sleeping beings. All eyes turned to Admiral Peters, whose face revealed nothing. The time for talking is over, Zorn declared. Humans have made their position clear. Chaos erupted in the council chamber. Alien representatives shouted for immediate action against humans. Some called for quarantine of the entire human race. Others demanded harsher measures. Admiral Peters used the confusion to slip away with his security team. Frank noticed and signaled to Scene to follow them. We need to stop this war before it starts, Frank told the remaining crew. Lisa, keep working with the Dendari on the hibernation research. Captain Wright, can we count on your support? Wright looked torn. What you're suggesting is treason against Earth Command. Earth Command just attacked sleeping civilians, Frank replied. Which side of history do you want to be on? After a moment, Wright nodded. The Northern Star will support you, Captain. Frank, Eric, and Tina left the station and returned to the Starward. Scene was waiting for them. Admiral Peters sent an encrypted message before leaving, Scene reported. I couldn't decode all of it, but he mentioned Operation Wakeful and coordinates in the Kuiper Belt. Set course for those coordinates, Frank ordered. Maximum speed. The Starward jumped to high velocity, leaving the gathering of alien ships behind. Captain Wright followed in the Northern Star, providing backup. Eric, keep working on that decryption, Frank said. We need to know what Operation Wakeful is. Hours later, they approached a hidden facility built into a large asteroid. It showed no signs of life on standard scans, but Tina detected unusual energy patterns. It's shielded, she explained, but there's definitely something big in there. Eric finally broke the encryption on Peter's message. His face paled as he read it. Captain, Operation Wakeful it's a genetic program, he said. Earth Command has been actively removing hibernation genes from human populations for centuries. They've been making sure humans stay awake. Why would they do that? Frank asked. Resources, Tina said quietly. If humans are the only ones awake, we get first choice of everything in the galaxy. Frank made his decision. We're going in. Prepare a boarding team. The Starward and Northern Star approached the hidden base together. They detected no defenses until suddenly energy weapons fired from concealed positions. Evasive maneuvers, Frank ordered. The battle was brief but intense. Working together, the two ships disabled the base's weapons. They docked at an emergency airlock and entered the facility. Inside, they found something none of them expected. The base was a massive research laboratory. Scientists worked at stations filled with genetic samples and data screens. What is this place? Wright whispered. A scientist turned to them in surprise. You can't be here. This is a restricted United Resources Corporation facility. Frank looked around. This isn't military. It's corporate. They moved deeper into the facility, finding files that revealed the truth. For over 200 years, United Resources Corporation had worked with elements in Earth Command to maintain human sleeplessness. They had systematically suppressed any research into human hibernation capabilities. Look at these profit projections, Tina said, examining a data screen. They've made trillions by harvesting resources from hibernating civilizations. In the center of the facility, they found a secure room. Inside was an elderly man in an expensive suit, calmly waiting for them. Captain Martinez, he said, I've been expecting you. I'm Harold Burton, CEO of United Resources Corporation. You've been manipulating human genetics, Frank accused. You've been preventing us from hibernating so you could steal resources while other species sleep. Burton smiled. It's just good business. Humans are meant to be awake, to be productive. Imagine the waste if we slept for years at a time. You've started a war, Wright said angrily. Aliens are ready to attack Earth because of what you've done. A price worth paying for progress, Burton replied. Besides, Earth's defenses can handle a few angry aliens. Frank's communicator beeped. Lysa's voice came through, urgent and excited. Captain, the Dendari and I have done it. We've developed a procedure to reactivate human hibernation genes. But there's something else you need to know. Something the Dendari just told me about the consequences of staying awake too long. 6 months had passed since the events at the hidden base. Frank stood at the window of the new Galactic Council building on Earth, watching ships from a dozen alien worlds move through orbit. Each represented a species that had, until recently, been ready for war with humanity. Captain Martinez, a voice called. Frank turned to see Lisa approaching, looking well-rested and somehow younger. Dr. Blackwood, he smiled. How was your first hibernation cycle? Incredible, she said. 3 months of deep sleep felt like a dream that lasted only minutes, and the mental clarity afterward is amazing. Frank nodded. The Dendari were right. Our brains need the rest period to process information. Staying awake continuously was slowly damaging us. They walked together toward the main chamber where delegates were gathering. The first Galactic Hibernation Summit was about to begin. Have you decided whether you'll take the treatment? Lisa asked. Frank touched the small medical device on his wrist. I start next week. The early volunteers like you have shown it's safe. After Burton's arrest and the revelation of United Resources Corporation's conspiracy, Earth had divided sharply. Many humans embraced the return to their natural hibernation cycle. The procedure developed by Lisa and the Dendari scientists had worked perfectly, activating dormant genes that allowed humans to hibernate safely. But others, led by Admiral Peters and his supporters, refused the treatment. They argued that humanity should maintain its wakeful advantage. The council chamber was filled with representatives from Earth and alien worlds. Elder Vorn of the Dendari stood at the center, addressing the gathering. With the first human hibernation chambers now active on Earth and major colonies, we enter a new era of galactic cooperation, Vorn announced. The staggered hibernation schedule ensures some species are always awake to maintain crucial systems and monitor shared territories. Frank took his seat next to Captain Wright, who had become Earth's chief diplomat to hibernating civilizations. "How are the transition teams working out?" Frank asked her. "Better than expected," Wright replied. "Humans who chose to remain wakeful are serving as caretakers during alien hibernation cycles. They receive fair payment for protecting sleeping civilizations' interests." Zorn of the Arcturians approached them. The once hostile alien now showed respect toward the two captains who had helped expose the conspiracy. "Our colony worlds are being returned to us," Zorn said. "And the new alert systems ensure no one can exploit hibernation cycles again." Tina joined their group, carrying data tablets. "The first reports from human hibernators show unexpected benefits," she explained excitedly. "Extended lifespans, enhanced cognitive abilities, and deeper connection to creative thinking." "The universe had a rule for a reason," Lisa added. "Our bodies and minds need rest, just like all other intelligent life." Sean Murphy entered the chamber, looking tired but satisfied. He had chosen to remain wakeful, leading one of the transition teams. "Just got back from the Proxima sector," he told Frank. "The rebuilding is going well. And we caught another group of corporate saboteurs trying to disrupt hibernation chambers." Frank nodded. The remnants of United Resources Corporation still caused trouble, but their influence was fading as more humans embraced hibernation. A soft chime indicated the summit was beginning. Frank took his place at the main table. As Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, he would help shape the new era of cooperation. "1 year ago, we faced extinction because we ignored the universe's simple rule," Frank said as he opened the meeting. "Now we understand that rest isn't weakness, it's essential. The greatest human strength wasn't our constant wakefulness, but our ability to change when we learn the truth." Around the table, humans and aliens nodded in agreement. The universe had one rule that couldn't be broken. Now finally, humans were learning to follow it.